This is not your mother's middle-aged. No longer is waking up each day, living the wash, rinse, and repeat cycle acceptable. We have the life lessons, the relationships, the wins, and the losses with which to navigate to our highest self, without hesitation and without fear leading the way. We have been there and done that, and so we have so much to offer the world and each other. So join me on this journey, speaking to ordinary women doing extraordinary things for new insights, new ideas, new medical breakthroughs, and new life lessons. You will be inspired to find your best life here and now. My name is Wendy Charles Maguire, and this is your Second Wind podcast. Welcome back to Second Wind, the podcast. And today is kind of a really cool and special conversation I'm having with a gal named Jen Barnett. And what's really interesting, this is so random. And it's one of those random encounters that only seem to happen, for me at least, when I'm in line, paying attention, listening to the nudges, feeling grounded, and just working from a place in my heart, I guess, and in my soul. And you're just feeling that, right? And so I had actually, on a whim, flown out to Salt Lake City, Utah, to visit my full-blood, just found brother turning sister, Corey. There was an episode that came out on that. And, you know, it was hey, I'm leaving in 2 days and I'm going to Salt Lake City, family, and I'm going to go meet this brother turning sister. See you, bye. And I stayed at this hotel, and it was packed with moms and young ladies, obviously teams. And I'm an early riser. The first day I go to Starbucks and in the hotel, and the line is so long. And I'm like, oh, there's got to be something closer. I should just walk. So I find a Starbucks, like, I don't know, half a mile away. I come back, and I'm not so sure I saved any time doing that or not, because there was a line at that one too. So then on Sunday, when I woke up real early and went down again, thinking I would beat the line was already there, and it was really early. They hadn't even opened yet. And there's all these gals. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to go to the other Starbucks. And I turned around and I said, you know, there's another Starbucks. And the gentleman said, yeah, they're closed today. I said, oh, good thing I'm not going. And I didn't get out of line. And I'm so glad I didn't get out of line and didn't go, because as the line was creeping along, there was this woman in front of me. And, you know, you just get a vibe from people, and she seemed really nice, but she was obviously agitated at how long this was taking. And she kept looking at her watch and kept getting on her phone. And finally, I just couldn't take it anymore, because I didn't know what kind of teams these were. And I said, hey, are you guys, is there like a team thing going on? And you're like, oh yeah, my daughter's in this volleyball tournament. And I, where you said you lived in where? Idaho? Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And I'm like, Idaho. And here I am. I go, well, I live in Georgia. So it's very random. And then we just started talking because we had nothing better to do because we're online. Oh my gosh. I tell her about Second Wind. She's like, oh, do I have a story? And then when we got to the point where we gave our order, we stood off in the corner and we just started talking. We just hit it off. And I gave her the Second Wind stuff. I just had cards printed up. So I handed her one. I said, I think I would love to tell your story. Let's chat when we both get back to our home bases. And we did. And her story is amazing. You're not even going to believe it. And random is kind of a word that comes and weaves itself throughout her story. There is random people, random diseases, random deaths, just random things that happened to this woman. And then how that all culminated and brought her to her second wind. And now what she's doing with it. It's incredible. So Jen, I'm so excited. Welcome to Second Wind, the podcast.
Thank you, Wendy. And, you know, you nailed it about random when we met, for sure. Because it was not a good day.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that. You were having a crappy day.
Yes, it was a crappy day. But this, you brought light to me. And we were meant to meet. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, you said that. You said when we talked like a few weeks later, you said you don't understand how you just reaching out and saying hello to me and kind of talking to me changed your trajectory for the rest of that tournament. And then, and we'll talk about it later, what happened in the airport on your way home with your daughter was also just when you're rolling with it and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. It's
Things
like,
happen.
it's an energy and just makes things get attracted to you. And that's the whole point of the second wind, is to open ourselves up for that, because now's the time in our second half to take all of these experiences and all these things and make them work for the greater good. And you are doing that. So let's start.
Okay.
Tell me about that time, that second wind, when you're like, yep, here we go.
So, there was a lot of things that led up to it, which we'll get to. But I think the second wind really hit me. Like, the reality of it was the first of this year. It started coming together last year. I was feeling it brewing, but the reality that I could do it in my mind was like January 1st. And it was, okay, I'm doing this. And
January 1st of 2021.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. This year has been I decided it's the year of Jen. It's my last year in my 40s. I had some things going on in my life that had been really crappy. And I've had some things that are really great. And, but I decided that the second half is going to be really great, and I'm going to change it, and I'm going to own it.
You changed everything you said.
I did. I changed the momentum of a lot of things, because it could have gone, I was at a point where it could go the same and just be, or I could change it and trim the fat, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I trimmed the fat in a lot of different ways. I got a trainer. I started eating better. I'm starting a new incredible business through a franchise. I'm just taking care of me, and I'm super excited.
You're super excited. And you also said, and I'll probably make this the title of this podcast, is for the first time in your life, you're proud of yourself.
Yeah, I feel pride. I think I've had, and it's inner pride. Like, I've been scared to have pride. I know I've done good things. I know I'm a good mom. I know I'm a good friend. I know I'm a good sister, daughter, but I've never had that. In my previous life, I was a mortgage lender and I was good at it, but I've never been prideful of something that I've just owned. And I'm owning the pride. And I think I've always been scared to say, I'm doing a good job, but I am, and I'm excited about it. And it's giving me a new security in myself.
You put your name on the building.
I did. I nailed it.
I love it. All right. Well, okay. So it sounds all great and good.
Yes.
It's been an interesting journey. So let's go back. Let's find out about, I have, I don't know, 9-10 pages of notes just in our conversation, and plus all the other conversations we have off notepads.
I was going to say, in the 2-hour line that we were waiting.
Yeah. But let's go back and talk about, like, how did you grow up?
So I grew up in a small town in northern Idaho called Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. It's
how I got out of saying that, because
you did. Yep. It's a tourist area. Beautiful. We have lakes all around us, famous golf courses. And I grew up in a family that, from the outside, I think everybody would have thought was absolutely 110% perfect. My dad was president of a bank. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. We were perfect. I have a younger brother, and, life was perfect. And but it wasn't perfect. And, my parents got divorced when I was a senior in high school, and it was ugly. It was really ugly. My mom and I were butting heads, typical things, but I've always been, my mom and I had rough times. I love my mom dearly, and she's my best friend. But at the same time, my dad has always been my person.
Mm-hmm.
So my brother kind of went and lived with my mom, and he's 7 years younger. So, he was young. I wasn't. And I lived with my dad. And then, it just divorce. It was what it was. My dad had a heart attack at 42. And so he quit the banking world. And so that was another thing. And we moved, they moved out. It just broke my family apart, is basically what happened. And so my dad bought health clubs and kind of changed his trajectory, and, kind of tried to, settle things down in his life. So I grew up in this healthy atmosphere, with a health club. And again, you'd think everything was perfect. But there was a lot of pressure on my brother and I growing up, from our dad with sports, myself with tennis, my brother with baseball. He, it was that perfection and always trying to be the best. And I think I felt like I could never live up to that perfection that he wanted or make him happy. So anyway, fast forward, I finally moved out, went to Boise State to be a teacher. Didn't end up being a teacher. I met my husband, and we have 2 fabulous kids. Things are moving along. I'm in my late 20s, and I start feeling weird. And
What do you mean feeling weird? What do you mean feeling weird? Because you have babies, everything, your body's just, you're like, oh my gosh.
And this was before the babies even.
Okay.
Like, people would tell me to stop shaking. Like, why are you shaking? And I noticed it, and it was mostly like in my feet or in my legs. And I was like, I just didn't know where it was coming from. And I didn't know what was going on with my body.
And it wasn't shaking like I'll sit there and I'll just move my foot.
No, not like nervous shaking. It was like it was kind of like a tremor. But, I'm 29 years old.
Yeah.
So I had no idea what it was. Plus, I didn't want to own it. It was, you're 29 years old. You're looking for the next, whatever party or, whatever. I was still playing. And so anyway, fast forward a little bit, my son is born at 30 when I'm 32. And it started getting bad. And right when my son was born, like literally days after. And I was moving him. I remember I was putting him into a swinging chair, and my mom said something. She's like, your legs are shaking. Why are they shaking? And again, it's not like it was me going up and down on my heel, like on my heels. You know what I'm saying? It was like my calves were shaking, my legs were shaking in this tremory. It's hard to explain.
Could you feel it when it was happening?
Yes, but I think that it had been happening, that I'd gotten used to it, and I was training myself to stop it. I don't, so anyway, I started getting scared. So I approached my doctor, and he sent me to a neurologist. And instantly they always said, you have restless leg syndrome, and sometimes it can affect you during the day. Okay. I didn't have restless leg syndrome because it continued. So then they started testing me for MS, and I went to numerous neurologists and, several things. And then my daughter was born, and it started getting even worse. Again, it was lower extremities. It wasn't my hands necessarily. So we were living in Boise, and I'd gone to all these neurologists, and they kind of came up that I had what was called an essential tremor. And they gave me this medication for it, which is a beta blocker. And I was taking this beta blocker a lot, and it helped, but only like for little hour, 2 hour increments. So it wasn't something that I felt like this is not acceptable for my life. So I started kind of getting into this depression, like, I'm 34 years old. I was a tennis player. I coached tennis. I grew up in a health club atmosphere, and all of a sudden my legs are shaking and I don't know why, and I can't control it. And again, I'm scared. And I know that something, these neurologists, these really smart people are telling me, oh, it's just an essential tremor and we can fix it. But it wasn't being fixed. And I had this amazing doctor. We went back when my husband and my kids and I moved back to Coeur d'Alene from Boise. I started back with my childhood doctor, and thank goodness, because he listened to me and he kept hearing me. So he sent me to, again, a couple more neurologists. Again, it was just the essential tremor. And I was a mortgage lender at this time. And
I was going to ask you, were you working through all this?
Yeah, I was working. I was a mortgage lender. So I went to school to be a teacher and decided I'm not going to do that now. And so I ended up in mortgage lending, and, I did really good. I was making great money, but I had this thing, and my legs started turning. My feet and my legs started turning in, and my toes were curling. And it was to the point where it was so painful, but I was still not sure I was ready to admit that something was really terribly wrong.
Was it like when you get a cramp in your foot or a cramp in your leg? It was like that?
Absolutely. The best way I could describe it is it felt like the inside of my bones. It still does. It feels like the inside of my bones are on fire.
Fire?
Fire in your bones, like the inside, in the marrow, because you're fighting it this constant time, all the time. And so my doctor, finally, I just went in tears, and I said, it's not an essential tremor. They keep telling me this. I just know in my heart it's not. So he sent me to a movement specialist. So I go to this doctor in Spokane, which is a neighboring city, Spokane, Washington. And I go in, and I'm with my mom, and we're driving there. And I said, I don't even know why we're doing this, because when we get there, he's going to tell me it's an essential tremor, because I've been to about 7 neurologists by this point. And I forgot to mention that they also tested me for leukemia. So, I've gone down, cancer, all these scary, scary things.
So scary. And you're a mom, and you have a full-time job. You're the breadwinner, and you're young. You have 2 little kids. You're working full-time.
Exactly. I've got a 3 and a 1-year-old, and again, I'm 34 years old. This is not supposed to be happening. And I made a joke. I said, I think I have Parkinson's. And my husband and my mom literally laughed at me. And they're like, yeah, you're 34 years old. You don't have Parkinson's.
Oh, and you're a woman.
Exactly. And you're a woman. It's like the old man geriatric disease kind of thing.
That's what we think of it. Yeah.
It is. It is. So I go to this doctor, and I'm there 10 minutes. And he says, I know exactly what's wrong with you.
Wait, this doctor, after all these doctors, and it's a movement doctor, and he says, in 10 minutes of meeting you, not what you expect. He just, what did he say?
And he says, you have dystonia. And I'm like, dystonia? What's dystonia? And I'm super relieved, because he didn't say Parkinson's, because in the back of my head, I'm hearing Parkinson's or just thinking Parkinson's.
Right.
So he starts telling me about dystonia, and he puts me on this medication called carbidopa-levodopa, and it works. It changes my life. It absolutely 100% changes my life.
What, the tremors just stop?
Stop. Everything stops.
The cramping. It just
stops. It's crazy. Like I went from one day, my feet turning in, to literally being normal, able to exercise again,
Wow.
kind of getting my life back. And I kept saying to him, are you sure I don't have Parkinson's? And he kind of giggled at me like, no, you don't have Parkinson's. So that was in 2010.
Okay.
So I keep going to this doctor and I'm going, but as I'm getting a little bit older, I still feel these weird tremors throughout my body in random places, like in my upper arm and my bicep.
Oh, it moved now. It's not just lower extremity.
Or my lip would twitch, or my pinky would get caught behind my finger. And I would tell him, and he would, and he said, those are signs of dystonia, whatever. Anyway, meanwhile, and I loved this man. He was the best doctor, and he kind of saved me. And I was so grateful. And I will never forget, in 2014, he said, I'm retiring. And I thought my world was going to come to an end because this man had, given me this gift. He said, but I'm referring you to, his name is Dr. Aldred, and he's amazing. This neurologist he came from OHSU, which is in Portland, Oregon. It's a huge hospital in Oregon. They do a lot of testing and stuff there. And he came to Spokane, and he was a young doctor, and I was one of his first patients, and he referred me to him. So I get there, and he says, Dr. Aldred, I sit there and, telling him my story, and I have dystonia, and he goes, I think we're going to have to test you for Parkinson's. I'm like, oh, no. I don't have Parkinson's.
No.
I don't have Parkinson's. By this point, I think I'm 42. I'm 42, which coincidentally is the same age that my dad had his heart problems. So I'm 42. It's 2014. And I said, no, it's not a thing. I can't, and he goes, well, actually, I think we better test you. So I get tested for Parkinson's, which might be the worst experience. It was awful. So they put you in this thing and lock down your head and your arms, and you can't move for an hour and a half. And it's kind of like a CAT scan, but you're not closed in, but basically you can't itch anything.
Oh my gosh.
So the inner itch started about 5 minutes in, but anyway, that's another time. So, as it turns out, I have Parkinson's. So I'm a 42-year-old woman with early onset Parkinson's.
How long did it take them to tell you the results from that? Like, is it like when somebody thinks you have cancer and you're like, let's wait 2 weeks and see what happens with your levels?
I had an appointment, but Dr. Aldred knew that I was scared, this is the one thing I didn't want it to be. And, there was no way that was going to happen. And so he called me actually, and he just said, we're going to talk about it more in an appointment, but you do have Parkinson's. So
how many days later was that?
3, maybe.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was immediate. It was pretty immediate. So
wait. I have to ask you a question.
Yeah.
He tells you this in a phone call. You hang up the phone.
I cried.
Yeah.
And called my dad. I called my dad.
Okay.
And, my dad was wonderful. He was one of those people that just said, this should be happening to me, not you. And he wanted it so bad for him just to take it away. Sorry.
No, that's
from me.
Makes sense.
And so, but it became a battle for our whole family. My husband, my kids, my mom. My mom was great, and I was surrounded by great friends. So I continued, the crazy part is when I was diagnosed with dystonia is actually a part of Parkinson's. So I was partially
Oh, but
diagnosed.
nobody ever told you. You didn't know.
I didn't know it. Because again, I was still scared of it all. So I didn't really do the research that I
Oh, you
needed
just
to
took
probably do.
you just took the diagnosis and
Just
ran
really,
with it.
you know, he
Okay,
fixed
thank
it.
you. Bye.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not Parkinson's. Woo, you know.
Yeah,
So yeah. So anyway, I fast forward again, you know, I'm starting to accept it. I'm still a mortgage lender and I'm hopping. I'm busy, I'm hopping, but I'm, you know, balancing the lives of my 2 kids who are now older. They're in grade school. You know, life is happening and I'm in so much pain. I'm still in a lot of pain and I'm having a hard time doing my job and concentrating, and I'm having this terrible anxiety. Plus, I'm battling actually really bad depression because I have Parkinson's and I don't know what's going to happen to me. You know, I don't know my fate.
Are you on medication?
I am. And
Okay.
coincidentally, it's the same medication. It just has more to it. It was the carbidopa, levodopa, but it just has another thing for the Parkinson's. And so my doctor in the beginning of 2015 starts saying, you need to quit your job. And I'm thinking, I can't quit my job.
Why is he telling you to quit your job? You're like the breadwinner.
Yeah, he's saying you need to quit your job because it's going to make it worse. And there's a surgery called DBS, deep brain stimulation. And so I was basically getting ready to have this deep brain stimulation, which is basically when they put electrodes in your brain to control the Parkinson's through its 2 surgeries. So they go in to your brain and put whatever they put in there, wires and such, and then they link them down to it and they do a chest surgery and they control it through your chest through a remote control, literally. And it controls the Parkinson's, but it's a major surgery. You're awake during it.
Oh, they're messing with your brain.
Yeah. And I'm 42 years old. And so I'm trying to swallow this pill. And meanwhile, my husband is frantically panicking because he had a good job. It was decent, but it wasn't going to support our family, by itself. So he found a job, an amazing job in the same industry in Eugene, Oregon, where we know nobody. And I think Wendy, knowing me for the 5 minutes she knows me, knows I'm a very social, extroverted person. I am totally opposite of an introvert. I have to know everybody. And I'm thinking, what? I'm not.
Well, you grew up knowing everybody too. You were in a small town. Everybody knew your family. Everybody knew your name.
I'm a 4th generation Coeur d'Alene girl. And in this community, it's a big deal. I was Jimmy Johnston's daughter. And I mean, Joy John, my mom was a well-known teacher here in the community. You know what I'm saying? Like,
every day you walk out your door, you are having conversations with people you know. There's no strangers.
Exactly. You don't go to the grocery store. You cannot hide here. You just can't.
Right.
So anyway, I proceed to jaw drop but realize the reality that I have to move. So now I'm moving, getting deep brain stimulation surgery in my brain. And
wait, back up. So you decided, okay, you and your husband made that decision that I do need to stop working.
Exactly. So I'm getting ready to quit my job. Eric gets this job offer and it's in May of 2015. And I'm leaving all my friends, all my family. Carson's going into 5th grade and Hadley, my daughter, is going into 3rd grade. So we're leaving and we're selling our house and moving on. So I quit my job and this crazy thing happens.
What happened?
I start getting better to the Parkinson's didn't go away. The stress didn't go away. There were new stresses, but it was minimized, and to the point where I was no longer a candidate for the deep brain stimulation.
Oh, wow.
So that was a big, huge thing off my plate.
Right.
Huge. And so I pack up, we moved to Eugene, and, but I continue to see Dr. Aldrin while we're in Eugene. I couldn't break up with him because, breaking up with the last doctor was hard enough. So,
and this one laid it out there for you and let you wrap your brain around it and was working with you.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So by 2015, I would never say I accepted the Parkinson's, but I was moving forward and just doing, and I was doing what I was supposed to do. I was exercising. Fortunately, that's been a part of my life, my whole life, with the tennis and the health clubs and such. But then I was also moving to Eugene, to a place that is completely foreign to me and a totally different environment than what I'm used to. Coeur d'Alene is like Pleasantville. And, it's just, again, everyone knows your name. And I'm going to this place where there's a lot of homelessness. I'm just not used to that. I just wasn't used to what was there. And so when we moved, I called it the dark days. I mean, I just plummeted into this deep, dark hole. So the Parkinson's symptoms were better and my health was better in that regard, but I wasn't better in the regard that I was sad. I missed my dad. I missed my mom. I missed my friends.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad and I mention him a lot because we had a bit of a codependency. And I'll admit it now, and I'm okay with it. Because
explain that. What do you mean codependency? Well, he got divorced and you kind of filled a void for him because you went and lived with him, right?
I would say that my dad, I don't think there had been, we talked every single day, no matter what. I've talked to my dad every single morning, my whole entire life.
Wow.
He's the first person that I would call. I dropped the kids off at school, call my dad, what's going on? We just had our call.
He's the first person you called when you got the Parkinson's diagnosis too. Not your husband, not your mom. You called your dad.
He was the first person I called when I found out I was pregnant with my son.
Wow.
And not, again, I don't want to discount my mom. My mom and I just had a different relationship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My dad is just that person. He was my person. And so, I called for everything. I called for advice. He just was my person. So when I moved to Eugene, he crumbled too, but he came to visit us a lot. My kids are very involved in sports, and my dad, loved watching their sporting events, baseball, softball, all of it, volleyball.
Yep.
Yeah, exact volleyball. So he came to Eugene a lot. So, it started to become okay. And then I started meeting some friends and getting involved in the school. Because again, remember, I went to school to be a teacher. So I started working in my kids' classrooms. And
wait, before you go there.
Yeah.
Are you going to talk? Because isn't it before there where there was like this beanbag chair situation?
Oh, the red beanbags.
Yeah, that's kind of big. And that was before that teacher pulled you out, correct?
He did.
All right, we got to go back. You got to talk about the beanbags. This is why I do my pre-interviews, because I don't want you to forget these major things. And it's so hard when we're Zooming to connect the dots. So do you mind talking about the beanbag?
No, I will talk about the beanbags. They're my nemesis. They're actually now up in my son's room. I don't look at them or sit in them.
Good.
Because stinky 16-year-old boys sit in them now. But
Yeah.
yeah, they're theirs. But so when we moved, we had these two ginormous red beanbag chairs. And I'm not a person that, some moms, and I'm not discounting them because I get it, you're busy. But I wasn't the mom that would go and drop my kids off in jammy bottoms, no bra, hair in a bun on the top of my head. No, that's just not who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't necessarily get ready, but I'd put the bra on, let's just say, and get out of the jammies, brush my teeth. I could be presentable if I got pulled over. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
But I became so depressed. I wouldn't even put shoes on. Like I literally got the kids in the car, dropped them off at school in the drop-off line, drove home in my jammies, no bra, no teeth brushing, and then would go back and just sit in these beanbags and sleep and cry.
Oh my
and
gosh.
My husband got to the point where I think he really believed that he might, because he traveled. So he wasn't there.
Oh, he didn't see any of this.
Well, he heard it because I was giving it in full barrels, that I hated it. And
you were calling him.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was calling my dad and I was calling my mom. Everybody knew. And I know he was calling my family saying how worried he was about me. I mean, I'm a very, very, I'm constantly I don't sit still very well, but I was just sleeping.
You're down. Mm-hmm.
And so then I'd pick my kids up.
Would you just stay in the beanbags and
all day?
And then at 3:30 or whatever time would show up and you'd be like, oh crap. And you'd get it. Were you like physically and mentally tired as well?
Yeah, I was exhausted. I mean, and so then I quit exercising, which isn't good for Parkinson's. You have to keep moving. You have to keep your muscles. So, and then, the endorphins that it gives you anyway, exercising is so good. So I was losing all of this stuff. And so one day I happened to get out of my car. For some reason, I had to go into the school. So I actually put the bra on. And
did you feel like it was a big effort that day to do that for whatever reason?
100%.
Wow.
100%.
Okay.
And Hadley's third grade teacher, Mr. Lawrence, who I still talk to all the time, saw me and we got to talking and he asked me about my background. And I said, elementary ed. And I said, if I could have picked a grade, it would have been third grade. And he said, work in my classroom.
Just like that.
Just like that.
In my classroom.
He's like, and he saw this thing and he tells me about it. Now, he saw the sadness in my eyes.
Oh, he did.
And he did. And that moment changed my life in Eugene. And it brought me this magic and it became this really great place all of a sudden. It took
he saw sadness in your eyes. And sometimes, especially men, right? And what we think would kind of say, oh, okay, let's walk away.
Yeah, exactly.
But he actually, something told him to say something to you.
And he's not that guy. He literally,
he's not that guy.
He's not. He's very gentle and kind, but I don't see him necessarily, He's not
a savior person. He's not going around saying, oh, let me help you and you and you.
No. I mean, he's fun and, so, and he was close to retiring. So, I mean, teachers get one foot out the door and they're like, I just want to get out of here,
Yeah.
So I started working in his classroom and did
you think about it for a while? Were you like,
no, I just jumped on it. For some reason, I think I had reached, so we had moved in July and by this point it was the beginning of December.
Oh, wow. So you had all that time in your beanbags.
In my beanbag.
Okay.
And so I started, I think I had to have a come to Jesus with myself and just say, you've got two kids, pull it together, man. You've got to get it together.
Is that when you gained a bunch of weight too?
Well, not necessarily yet.
Not yet.
No,
Okay.
no, not yet. That's
That's later. Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's
Keep
later.
going. Keep going.
I mean, I because I really wasn't, you have to remember, I wasn't doing anything. I was
You were just laying
depressed.
there. You didn't get up and go eat a bag of Fritos or something.
No, I mean, I would say it was almost the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
So, I started working in the classroom and I started meeting moms and I started meeting these amazing people. And then my kids again are in sports and I started getting involved with the kids' sports. And, my life started becoming a life. And what I realized at that time was my entire life, even in Boise, I had started off my life being Jim Johnston's daughter, because again, I'm fourth generation Coeur d'Alene girl. They knew my grandparents. They knew everyone knows my great grandparents.
Wow.
My great grandfather built homes here in Coeur d'Alene. You can drive by and see his homes.
History. It's like my summer place. Yeah.
There's a lot here. And then when I went to Boise for college, I went with my Coeur d'Alene friends, as you do when you go away to college. So even though my husband's from Boise and he's not affiliated with Coeur d'Alene, and I met people outside, there wasn't necessarily that correlation. They like you because you're Jenny. There wasn't that correlation. It was still that Coeur d'Alene girl. But when I went to Eugene, and I knew absolutely no one, I knew nobody.
And they didn't know you.
And exactly, either. I had to do this all by myself. And it was a first time for me. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I started realizing, you know what? These people like me because of me. They don't know who Jim Johnston is. They don't know who Joy Palmer is, my mother. They don't know my grandparents. I'm Jen Barnett. And that's it. That's what they know. And people were liking me, and I was becoming this person in Eugene that people were starting to know. And I started loving the community. And we met amazing friends that, are a huge part of my life still, and that was in, again, 2015, more 2016.
Okay.
And so my life was becoming full here, and my dad was coming to visit. My mom and stepdad were coming to visit, and we were coming back to Coeur d'Alene for Christmas and for a month during the summer, because
where's the Parkinson's and all of this? How is that? Has that leveled off?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm back to exercising, and, I'm coming back for my doctor's appointments. And so I'm having a little bit of Coeur d'Alene and I'm having a little bit of Eugene. So life is good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're plugging away, and I'm accepting that, I know I'm not a Coeur d'Alene girl. I am a Coeur d'Alene girl always, but I'm not living there, and it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
And again, my husband we took this job in Eugene with the knowing that it would eventually probably bring us back to Coeur d'Alene. But I was no longer pushing for that. In the beginning, I'm like, okay, when are we going?
When are we moving? When are we moving?
Exactly. When are we moving? Yeah. Is there a job opening? When can we get back?
Right.
And that was no longer on my radar. Well, all of a sudden, out of the blue, we're in Coeur d'Alene for the summer. My kids and I, it was August in 2018. So August of 2018. And Eric, my husband, calls me. He's in Eugene. The kids and I are in Coeur d'Alene, like we always were for the month of August. He says, "You're not going to believe this." And I said, "What?" "I have a job opportunity in Coeur d'Alene. And I'm going to be home more. I'm not going to travel as much." And I'm kind of thinking, wait a minute. I'm just kidding. You're not traveling very much? No, because you get that routine.
Yeah. It's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday by myself.
Exactly. We have this routine. No, but seriously, he was going to be home more. I was going to be with my family, my friends, back to normal per se. And I got this lump in my throat.
Really?
I don't know if I want to move.
Oh boy.
But I tell my dad, and my dad melted.
Oh, really?
He melted. And it was what I had to do. And
you knew that it meant more to him than you could even protest to not move. And so you were just going to do it.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so,
Okay.
and he was in his early 70s, and there were some signs of him. My dad was fit as a fiddle. Again, he owned health clubs. Little guy, 5'7", about 160 pounds, sopping wet, maybe, just a little spry guy. And he was so excited and so we started mulling this over, and Eric got the job, and then we're told you have to be there in 3 weeks. And I'm like, okay, so we got to buy a house. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right. There's a lot of things that have to go into play. Yeah,
exactly. And again, when things are meant to be, they fall into place. And so,
yep.
My dad found our house, sight unseen. We buy the house in 3 weeks because I was a mortgage lender, remember, and I have amazing mortgage lender friends. We made it happen in 3 weeks.
Wow.
So, yeah. In 2018.
So your dad just went, did your dad go and look at this house and say,
yes,
I found the house for you?
Did.
Okay, so somebody had laid eyes on it.
He had laid eyes, and one of my really good friends, of course, that I grew up with was my real estate agent. So, they're FaceTiming me, going around looking at the house. But I mean, I didn't even know what side of the street it was on. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, I mean, we pulled up and it was like, okay. So it was like, we're moving back to Coeur d'Alene. And my dad was like a kid. He was so excited, and he was getting his grandbabies back. And he's so close to my kids. And my kids, everybody was so excited. They're back with their friends. And I was too. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, I was like, I'm leaving these people that actually like me for me.
Oh, it was a different kind of feeling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was actually this sense of a little bit of loss, but nothing like when I moved to Eugene. I didn't go back to the red bean bags at all. I mean, life just kind of went back into step like it was before we moved. Mm-hmm. So, the friends are the same. So life is going really, really, really great. And, my husband's got this great job. I'm, running the kids around. We're doing our thing. And I go to, in April 8th, I go to a therapy session, because I'm still doing counseling. I missed this part too.
Yes, you did.
I had a really, really good counselor through all of this as well. And her husband would have been my neurosurgeon had I gotten that deep brain stimulation. So she's familiar with Parkinson's, and she just really helped me through everything from Parkinson's to life. And so I was going to a therapy session, and then I had a doctor's appointment right after, and they were both in Spokane. And so I thought, I'm going to run to Nordstrom because we don't have Nordstrom in Coeur d'Alene. So I ran to Nordstrom and was looking around, and I get a phone call from my brother. And he says, Jen, our dad is dead. And I'm like, what?
You had to even process that. What do you mean?
I said, what happened? And my dad committed suicide on April 8th of 2019. So in 2 seconds, I lost my best friend, my phone call every morning. And back I went to the beanbags, literally.
Oh my gosh, you went back to the beanbags. Well, wait. You would think that your dad was so happy you're back. You're back.
So, yes, and he was, and things were good, but there were some signs of dementia. And my dad was a very prideful man, very, in a humble way. And again, he grew up here too. And my dad never really left, ever. I mean, he lived here his whole life. And so, he owned the gym that everybody went to. You know what I mean? Like, he was president of the local bank for years. And so he had a lot of pride. And I think that when I moved back, he had all of his grandkids in one place. He had his kids in one place. And I have found peace now with it because I feel like there were probably some things that were happening that scared him as far as a dementia portion. And he never wanted to be a burden to anyone. And he wasn't going to go in a nursing home. And he was scared. And on the news, when you see, I mean, it always is the older gentleman, be on the lookout for a 70-year-old plus man. And I think I get it. I think they take their walk in the woods, if you will.
Like an old dog.
Yeah.
You hear that. Or an old cat, they just kind of take themselves and they know it's their time and they go do their thing. Interesting.
And I think he went out on his high note, if you will.
Okay. And
my dad was an enormous Elvis fan. And I'm going to tell my secret that I too am an enormous Elvis fan. And I don't know, there's the song that he sang, My Way.
Oh, gosh.
I can't listen to it, but that's what my dad did. He did it his way. And he went out on his high note. And as hard as it was to accept, I have to because I loved him. So again, now I have another low and depression, and it's bad. And my mom, who I love dearly and now has become my best friend and my first phone call every morning, stepped up, because again, my brother and her were always close and my dad and I were close. Not that, we just had different relationships, but now, I have my mom. But my dad, I had so many memories at the gym, that it became hard. I couldn't go to the gym anymore. So,
right, because it'd be like walking into his
memory lane. I mean, that's been my life.
Right.
I worked there, every corner there's something, before
it would trigger you, right? You didn't want to even be triggered, and you were so depressed and you found your freaking beanbag chair again. That's no good.
Yeah, well, and also everybody knows me. So you walk into the gym.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And it's a 3-hour process. Or, there was a chair that my dad always sat in, and everybody would say, "Oh, I just come around the corner and I expect to see your dad in the chair." And, he's not in the chair. And that was the hardest part, is just walking into the gym and naturally looking over to see my dad, and he's not there. So I quit going to the gym, and I gained about 30 pounds. And I'm little. I'm 5 foot. So 30 pounds doesn't look pretty on me. And so 2020, or not even 2020, so 2019, summer happens, and I'm trying to pull myself up by my bootstraps as much as I can and not go down that beanbag. And when I say I went back to the beanbags, it was nothing like before. It was just, and my girlfriend, my childhood best friend in high school, her name's Brandy, says to me, "Have you heard of Lunchbox Wax?" I'm like, "What? Are you serving lunch or are you waxing? What's going on here?"
Right.
And so her kids had gone off to college, and she was a stay-at-home mom like me at this point. And she says, I am looking into this franchise, and I'm going to open it here in Coeur d'Alene. And it's a waxing salon, and it's amazing. And I'm super excited for her. And we're talking about it, and we're just chatting away, and it starts rolling, and so it's real and it's happening. And so I'm kind of watching the process, and I'm kind of researching. And I had inherited some money from my dad, and I'm thinking, well, this could get me back to Eugene part-time, where I have friends that like me for me.
Why do you think that? Why do you think that? Because it's a franchise and you can put one wherever you want?
Yeah. And there isn't one in Eugene. And I'm thinking, I'm kind of starting to do a little research. And
okay.
So my wheels are just kind of churning. Let's just put it that way. And so 2020 rolls around, and we all know 2020. And
COVID.
And my friend literally opens a waxing salon in the middle of COVID, and it's a huge success. Just
stop it. Why? Because what? You can just have one person go in at a time kind of thing?
Yeah,
and
because it's completely sanitized. That's part of our protocol. The only thing that really is different is you have to wear a mask.
Okay.
Okay. So she opens in July of 2020. And I'm not joking. It is crazy. So now my wheels are really, really churning. And I haven't told anybody but my girlfriend, Brandy, who sometimes has a little bit of a big mouth. Bless her heart, I love it. That's what I love about her. So Brandy's like, Jen, you have to do this. It's amazing. And I'm going, okay. So, my wheels are turning, and we go out, and they're with her and her husband out on their boat. And there might have been a few cocktails, I'm just going to say. And Brandy says to my husband, your wife wants to open one in Eugene. And
she's a pot stirrer. That's what she is.
Yes.
Yes.
A good pot stirrer.
Yes.
And I look at her and I go, oh my God. And Eric looks at me like, no. But her husband, Mike, and my husband have this little banter that they always have had, like football, and, they just banter. And Mike says, well, if you don't do it, I will. And the next morning, I see my husband pounding away on the computer researching. And within 2 weeks, we were talking to Lunchbox Wax.
Oh my gosh.
And so we were looking into opening one in Eugene, and it's a university town, and you've got the University of Oregon there, and it's Nike town, where Nike is huge there and sponsors everything, the university. And so, which brings the track and field, there's a lot of things.
Oh yeah. The swimmers, the runners, everybody gets waxed.
Everybody.
I forgot about that.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm thinking this is a good idea, and they're thinking it's a good idea. And our best friends in Eugene, our neighbors, we kind of dropped the little idea to them, and they're like, well, we might want in on this. So, because they live there and I don't. And so you
got to find somebody that's like there in case the alarm goes off.
Exactly. Because I will go back and forth or whatever. So it starts becoming this huge reality. And the next thing I know, I'm paying a franchise fee in October of 2020.
Wow.
Literally. So again, I still was chubby, if you will, but things were starting to progress, but I still had Parkinson's. I still have Parkinson's.
Yeah, it doesn't just go away. Ever.
It will never go away. There's not a cure. I still got it, and anyway. So as the year is ending, and this is totally a reality, and we're looking for spots, and January.
You got to be having a little bit of fun too, because you get to go back to Eugene.
And I'm starting to learn. I'm learning again. And with Parkinson's, it does affect your brain and it affects your thinking. And sometimes I think, oh my God, am I going to be dumb? Is it going to make me dumb? Because I've always considered myself relatively intelligent and well-spoken, and that's scary for me. Like what? And all of a sudden I'm triggering these, it's working my brain and I'm learning new things, and I'm learning how, I have the mortgage side and I have the teaching side, and it kind of is bringing it together in my little brain. And I'm learning all this stuff. And my girlfriend, Jessica, my business partner, who is also a stay-at-home mom, and her kids are, kind of the same age as mine, in the same spot, she's feeling the same thing. It's like opening this new door for us of we're getting a little smarter again, because you just get that stay-at-home mom routine, if you will. So then January rolls around of 2021. And that's
here we are.
Just said, I'm done. You're either on board with me or you're not. I'm going to be 49 in April. I'm going to trim the fat. Literally, I started doing Whole30, which, I started eating better. And I got, I've had trainers in my past, but I always get the easy trainer, the one that.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
She'll push you, but you know what I mean? Like the comfort zone or whatever.
It's okay if you're 10 minutes late.
Exactly. Or we're not going to add 5 pounds. It's okay. Of the weight to lift up, So anyway, I decided my kids had this trainer named Chris. And I've literally seen both my kids throwing up in garbage cans while I'm on the, treadmill or whatever, because he pushes them. And, he's the real deal. And I talked to him and he's like, let's do this. And I could, his mother, literally. And I'm like, okay. And so I lost 30 pounds. I trimmed the fat as far as friendships, and you know what I mean? Like if you make me feel bad about myself, I'm done. I'm just at a point in my life where I just want to surround myself with good, with whatever it is. And I'm following a dream. And again, back to Lunchbox, anybody that knows me, this is so out of character for me. Like, I like to fly under the radar. I like the status quo. Again, I hate change, i.e. Eugene. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, it puts me in a tailspin. And this girl that hates change is all of a sudden buying a franchise. Not only that, I'm not just doing one. I bought 3 out of the gate. You
bought 3. Yeah.
So, there's something guiding me in this whole process. And it's that phone call every morning. And I know it's my dad telling me, leading me down this path. And it feels right. And there's nothing scary about it. And it should be the scariest thing I've ever done.
Right. It's a financial investment. It's a time investment. I mean, you've got to have liability.
I'm doing it in another state. You know, I mean,
by the way.
Yeah, but it feels right.
Yeah.
And it feels good. And there's a part of me that keeps saying, am I crazy? And I'm not. This is okay. This is good. So I am now opening my first Lunchbox Wax with my business partner, Jessica, in November of this 2021 in Bend, Oregon, with our second one in Eugene, hopefully opening next year about this time. And our third one,
interesting.
We're still not sure where we're going to do that one, but our goal is to have about 6.
Oh, wow. So you expanded your plans before you even opened the first one.
Exactly. I mean, it's a really amazing company, and it's, the whole thing is bringing, I mean, I know there's going to be bumps and bruises. And in the beginning, I went in with an attitude of, if this doesn't, I'm not going to fit a square peg in a round hole. If this doesn't work, it's fine. It's fine. We'll walk away. Now I'm invested. I can't do that.
Right.
But I'm not going to let fear own me, Parkinson's own me, people that the judging people around me that have opinions. I don't care anymore.
It's
I
so
don't
good.
care.
That's the
And
whole second win, girl.
yeah, I'm over it.
You're doing you.
I am. And this is the year of Jen. And it really is. And I'm making, I feel like this huge weight is off my shoulders. And it's amazing the dynamic and the people that come into your life, for example, you, that when you open your heart and your mind to some things and close other parts to the yuck,
the negativity, the
exactly.
judgment,
the people that really you're good. I mean, but what if? Well, what if your dad commits suicide? I didn't see that coming. There's a lot I could what if all day long. But someone's going to open the Lunchbox Wax in Bend. Why can't it not be me?
I love
and
that.
That's how I started thinking. And I'm not going to do the some days anymore. I'm doing the right now because I can. Oh
my gosh. So much good stuff. Yes.
That's the Jen story.
That's a good story. That's why I was so excited. Can you share, like, on a daily basis now for you, when you get up in the morning, where are you at physically and mentally with the stuff, with the Parkinson's and all that? Like, how is this playing out in your days right now?
Well, and I'm going to be completely honest. There are days that I physically can't get out of bed because I've overdone other days.
Oh, okay.
I hurt. I still hurt. I still have Parkinson's. But mentally it's not owning me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I didn't know Parkinson's was painful.
It is.
I didn't know that.
I mean, you're fighting. I fight, I try to exercise every day to some extent, whether it be a walk.
Mm-hmm.
Typically I go to the gym and, do my routine of some sort. But that's what's so fantastic about this whole lunchbox thing too. If I have a day I can't do something, I'm fine. It's okay. For one, I have a great business partner, but for two, we're going to have, I don't have to be there. This is something that I can do. Again, it's not going to own me. Parkinson's isn't going to own me. I own me.
Wow. That's so great. So, I think it's interesting, and I know this is a long interview, but our conversation, so you're having a crappy weekend. When we met,
yes.
And just like you, I know every time I'm down or I'm, when I thought, okay, I'm going to have to put my second win on a pause. This was just a couple of weeks ago because the restaurants are in dire need of physical people in the buildings. And my husband's like, you're going to probably have to do some stuff. And it just threw me for a loop because I just want to do second wind and it's just so aligning for me. And I just love it. And I love meeting all these women and they're hearing their stories. And I just know this is the path I'm supposed to be on. So I got all depressed and all sorry for myself. And I know my dad up in heaven would be saying, you need to do what's right for your family. Right. So I got all this and then I promise you, it's always within a few hours of me why am I doing this? What am I doing? It costs me money. You know,
Yeah.
I want it to be great. I want it to be big, and I want to help so many people and serve so many others. And I want it to pay for itself, you know, the
Yeah.
financial part of it, everything. And I'm just so depressed about it. And then within hours, I get this interview lined up with this amazing woman who's coming on the show who just shipped me 90 something pounds of product to put in my little subscription box that I'm sending out to the first, 150 subscribers of the email out of nowhere. And she owns the company Lolly Beauty out of New York. And like, I didn't even think for a second this woman would give me the time of day. And now we're like buds, and she's fan freaking fantastic. And I promise you, I think the only reason that door opened was because I was down, and it's like, oh, no. You need to keep on this path. Let me throw you something. Let me give you a little bait here so you keep swimming upstream, right?
Yes. And that's what I think like a second wind is all about. Honestly, I think it's about once you have accepted that we all have our struggles, we all have our crap, we all do. Mm-hmm. And you own your crap. And sometimes that means having humor about it, making fun of a situation or whatever it is that helps you. But you open your mind and you allow yourself to see the stuff that's
coming your way.
Exactly.
And you were dealing with those mean moms at that volleyball tournament. And when I met you, you were ready to go home.
I was over it. I was over, so I had this crazy Saturday because I met you on Sunday.
And Sunday morning. Yeah.
I had this crazy experience, and I'm not even going to go into it. It was just, with sports, there's just mean moms, mean dads, whatever. And I was sad. I was just sad. And so I told my daughter, and I went outside and I sat, it was in a big auditorium. And so convention center. And I went and sat in a hall in a corner, and I just cried. I just had my moment. I just let it go. And again, I was trimming the fat because I was like I just didn't need these people. They were making me feel bad about myself and my kid. And I'm sitting there crying, and this woman walks towards me. And honestly, I was ugly crying. So it wasn't, it wasn't like pretty cry. It was ugly.
We all know what that's like. Yep. The blubbering.
Exactly. The red nose, the puffy eyes, the whole gamut. And she comes and she says, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just mean moms. I'm over, I just need a few moments." And she sits down next to me and she gives me this hug. She goes, "I'm just going to give you a hug."
You're kidding.
And she goes, "I get it. Do you need anything else?" And I said, "No, thank you." And I never really see her face, honestly, because again, ugly cry. She gets up and leaves. Okay. So I tell my daughter this story that night, and I said, she was amazing. Like it just helped. It just changed my attitude. And I was like, okay. So again, then I'm in line with you, and so I had her, and then I met you, and so it was getting better, and it was going to get me through this last hurdle of this tournament that ended up being awful. So I'm sitting after the tournament. Everybody was kind of going their own way and going to dinner. And Hadley and I decided we're just going to go to the airport and eat dinner. And we didn't even eat by where our gate was. I just didn't want to see anybody. So we're sitting in a restaurant, and this couple comes and sits next to us. And we're, looking out on the tarmac. I didn't say that right. Sorry. Looking, just Hadley and I are talking. Well, they recognize that Hadley's a volleyball player. And so they start talking to her. And the gentleman had to catch his plane. So he leaves. And this gal is just sitting there talking with us for an hour and a half. And it's like old friends. This woman is from, New Mexico. She's from New Mexico. She's this amazing woman, and we just have all these things in common. And as we're talking, and her and Hadley are talking about volleyball, I said, "So do you have any children? And she says, yeah, I have a daughter, and she's going to be a senior. And I said, okay. And she goes, well, I said, does she play volleyball? She goes, she does, but she's had a rough couple years. And I said, oh, and she goes, yeah, she's had 4 knee surgeries.
Oh, wow.
And I'm looking at her and I'm like, really? Because my son, who is going to be a junior, has also had 4 knee surgeries. Come to find out, they've had the exact same surgeries around the exact same times.
Oh my gosh.
Exact same 4 surgeries on their knees. And so we're kind of flabbergasted a little bit about that because,
it's not a usual thing.
Exactly. What 15, 16-year-olds have gone through 4 knee surgeries. It's not usual. So as we're talking a little bit more, and, her daughter's 6'1", my son is almost 6'3". So, they're tall people, and we're kind of joking about, boy, they might be cute, haha, as moms do. And she says, she says, where are you from? And we say, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And she goes, oh my God, I'm going to be there in 2 weeks for the Ironman. And so we start telling her where she should go and everything. And, this conversation's blossoming. And a little bit later, Hadley says, I skipped one part. So as we're talking again, she says, next week, I'm going to take my daughter to look at colleges because she goes, she wants to be a medical examiner. I mean, really, what kid really says they want to be a medical examiner other than her daughter and my son, who has also had the 4 surgeries? So by this point, we're like, okay, this is weird. Maybe we should have the 2 meet, you know what I mean? And not like the couple kind of meet, but have them literally meet because of the stigma of the surgeries. And, it's been a lot to handle as teenagers. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, we kind of set up this, okay, I want to see you during the Ironman because her husband's doing the Ironman. So we're kind of giggling or whatever, and we exchange numbers. Just about ready to go. And Hadley starts kind of telling the story of my weekend to this woman. And as she's telling the story, the lady's looking at me and she goes, well, what did you do, Mom? And I said, honestly, I went out in the hallway and I cried. And she looks at me and she says, did I hug you?
Oh my God.
So the woman that hugged me was the woman that I sat in the airport talking to for 2 hours that neither one of us even realized. And then we met in Coeur d'Alene, and our kids met. They all got along. They snapped. And her and her husband are lovely, lovely people. And I have a friendship with this amazing woman named Holly from New Mexico.
Why was she at the tournament?
Because she's a coach. Her daughter wasn't even there.
Oh, she's a coach.
She was a coach. So
her daughter couldn't even play, but yet she still got to go because she's a coach. Okay, now that makes sense.
Yeah. So anyway, lives come together. People come in your life, and the best advice is don't have tunnel vision. You know what I mean? Like, let people in and let people help you. But if they're not, and they're not good and they make you feel bad, then you have the tunnel vision. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like, pay attention to what comes to you and how it comes to you, and be open. And remember that life isn't supposed to be convenient. So if somebody randomly asks you to do something and you're like, oh, that's not really convenient, or I don't really want it, or I have to take a shower, go ahead, do those things that aren't convenient, because I guarantee you those are the things that will put you where you need to be. Lay the next flagstone down on your path.
Exactly.
Don't you think?
So this crappy trip to Utah that I hated just about every moment of turned out to be this huge bright light at the end. There was this huge, huge light at the end of the tunnel because of 2 people, one being you.
Aw, that's so nice.
And, now I have 2 friends from a plate from it just turned out great. And so that's what I mean, like about trimming the fat. I trimmed that other stuff. I don't even care about it. I don't care about that volleyball tournament. What I care about is that I met Holly and Wendy.
That's so cool. And you know what? You did the same for me, because it's a lonely road sometimes doing the podcast and having your husband go, and how much is that costing? And how much is that costing? And, oh, I'm sorry, don't do this. I'm recording, or go do this for me because I'm recording. And I have to figure this out and I have to figure that out. And then I was excited to be in Utah meeting Corey, but at the same time, I'm like, I was thinking, what's happening with Second Wind? How do I justify blah, blah, blah. And then you come along. It's like within minutes, you come along and boom, I now have this new prospect of someone who wants to talk to me and wants to be on the show. Oh, and who's very excited to listen to the show. And I was like, oh, because it all comes down to listenership and reviews, right? That's how you get the stuff, all the accolades that make the stuff happen that I want to see happen. And you're like, I'm going to listen to these when my daughter and I are traveling. And I'm so excited to listen.
To Bend. And I mean, and
you sent me a message. You're like, oh my gosh, I just listened to this episode. I loved it. Keep doing it. And I was like, from somebody who's not even my friend yet.
I am your friend.
Somebody doesn't. Yes, you are.
Yeah, no,
you didn't know me. You didn't.
Exactly.
It's not like having my best friend say, hey, nice. That was really great. It's different.
It is different. And again, because it's someone that met you because of because of your inners.
There you go. You go.
I've just learned a lot in this last year. Like I allowed myself to dig deep in this year and just become who I think I'm supposed to be. And I'm letting things happen and I'm opening doors, and it's exciting.
Letting things happen and opening doors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's a whole new chapter. There's lots of chapters. Lots and lots of chapters.
So tell the listeners about Lunchbox. So what is that?
Lunchbox Wax is a full body waxing salon. We literally do from head to toe. And our motto is we wax everybody. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're big or small, male, female, transgender. It doesn't matter. We will wax whoever, whatever. It is what it is. And it's this amazing company owned by this amazing woman. It's about empowering women. They're coming up everywhere. So, I mean, you'll start to see them everywhere. And it's the name is funny.
It is funny. My husband got a kick out of that.
It adds the humor to it. And the other thing is that we use a soft wax and a pulling style that literally doesn't hurt. It's crazy.
What do you mean it doesn't hurt?
I mean, I don't know if you've been waxed. And when I say waxed, yeah, like a little, like the upper lip. And so,
okay.
Yeah. But I got a Brazilian.
Okay.
Let's just say it. And I'd heard horror stories. And I was like, I'm not doing that, Brandy. She goes, oh, yes, you are. I need you to
Well, you had to kind of take, you have to experience what it is you might be buying into, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And everyone's like, take 4 ibuprofens before and expect it to pulse for 4 days later. And I'm going, what? Why am I doing this? It's 15 minutes. And that's kind of where we're at with the lunchbox. Like you can go in on your lunch break, get waxed and still eat lunch. It's kind of the concept,
Okay.
But basically, there's a little tenderness, but not anything awful. And so that's Lunchbox Wax. It's an amazing company, and I'm so excited about it.
Now, do you have a website for your stores?
I do. And
what are they? Do tell. it?
Well, okay. Can you pause?
Okay. So the website it's almost there, right?
It's almost there. It's actually being created. Our Instagram, our Facebook, and our website is all being created this week. Super exciting. And so stay tuned.
Yeah, I'm going to put it all in the show notes because this will be, time will have elapsed by the time our show airs. And I am thinking I need to come and we need to do a live when you open your store.
Yes.
I've never been to Oregon.
You have never been. Bend is lovely. It is lovely. You'll love it. It's such a great town.
Well, then I'm gonna put that on the. I'm gonna get some more sponsors, and and then I'm gonna come see you. Oh my gosh, we should put it in the books. Though. I should put it in the books,
yes,
so that we can do that and do a live from there and say, okay, how's it going? And then how is it? How's the Parkinson's? Where are you at a nice pause, sort of with Parkinson's?
Yes, and I think it has a lot to do with strength. Eating right, mindset. I am not going to let this disease own me. I am not. I'm going to kick its ass.
I love that.
I am.
Good. Do you have any, I always try to ask people before we end our time together on the Zoom, do you have any, if there was one mantra or one phrase that you say to yourself every day or something like, oh, come on, this is just say it to yourself, move on, whatever that is. Do you have something like that?
I don't know if it's necessarily a mantra, and it's taken me a really, really long time to get, and I've kind of said it throughout the podcast, is listen to yourself, listen to your body, listen to what's happening, and don't ignore it. Give in. If you have to take a nap, take a nap. I'm allowing myself, you can only control one person, and there's only one. I have kids and they're a part of me, but I can't control them. I can control this person, and that's the only person I can control. And this is the only person I really, truly have. So I'd say my mantra is just listen to your heart, listen to yourself. And, it's okay to give in. It's okay to be prideful and be happy for yourself. It's all okay. And it works out.
Yes. So good. Oh my gosh, Jen, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for being in that Starbucks line.
Thank you.
I'm so glad we had that chance encounter, and now we're friends, and I'm excited to come visit you. And
absolutely. And I'm going to come your way too.
Oh yeah, I got to come to Georgia. You might need to open some near me.
I think there might be. I think there's a rumor mill that there might be one going.
No way. Okay.
I think so. So I'll keep you posted.
Please keep me posted. And until next time, breathe in your second wind. Thank you for listening today. I hope that something you heard made you smile, made you think, and made you feel. If these incredible stories empowered you, awakened you, or left you feeling inspired, make sure to share with a friend and write us a review on iTunes so we can continue to change lives through this content. Make sure you tag us while you're listening on our Facebook group, My Second Wind, or hit the link in the show notes to join the conversation. Until next time, go ahead and breathe in your second wind.